Hey everyone, my name is Nishant.
I'm Ashley.
I'm Divya.
I'm Colton.
And I'm Lily.
And we're going to be talking about Senegal for a country profile project. So let's start off with a little bit of the history. So Senegal's history is very diverse because it is one of the countries that was usually, influenced by others such as the French, the Portuguese, and the Dutch. Up until the 14th century, there was a rise in the empire known as the Jollof Empire, which was influenced by the Tukulor people. And then afterwards, the Portuguese traders reached the Senegal Valley, and then the Dutch followed them as well. Zoom forward to around the 17th century, a key slave trading port was established by the French at Saint Louis, and up until around 1763, the French had Senegal, and then there was back and forth between the Britain and the French due to the wars. But then eventually the French regained Senegal, and after 1895. Senegal slowly started its transition into becoming an independent country up until 1960 when it finally established itself as an independent country with Leopold Senghor as their first independent president. Islam is a very important part of Senegal's history because of the heavy influence of it, which was really introduced in the 8th and 9th century by the Arab Berbers. Up until around the 10th century, you see that Islam was kind of just present, and then it started being forced to its people that lived in Senegal until around the 19th century when Islam spread to every corner of Senegal essentially. And until then, or after then, Islam has basically become a social identity for a lot of Senegal's population. I think it's going to be around 96% that you'll see in the future. Let's talk a little bit about demographics. So here are three population charts, 1999, 2019, and a predicted 2085. You can see that 1999 and 2019 are very similar. I think one of the biggest impacts that the population charts show is that there is a slight increase in the middle-aged and old-age population between the 20 years. And you can see that in 2085, there's an even more increase between the middle-aged and old-age people in the population of Senegal. And there will be a decrease in how many younger-aged individuals there are. Overall, there have been consistently more females than males, which is also seen through this graph right here. You can see that there's 51.2% females and 48.2% males in the population of a total of 17 million. I think one of the more interesting facts is that the life expectancy in 2019 was around 66 and 69 for males and females respectively, which was almost double of what it used to be in 1960, which was 39 years. And here are some other cool facts. And you can really see the population pyramid here as a bar graph. And you can only see that 65% or 65 years of age and older population only make up 3.1% of the population. Then we have culture. So because of its diversity, culture is very diverse. The Wolof, Pular, and Serar are the three main ethnic groups. French is its official language. And as I mentioned, 96% of the country practices the Islamic faith. The cuisine are also similar, where there has been heavy influence by the Portuguese and the French. For clothing, there is Western-style clothing for men. However, women wear this outfit called a baobos, which is oftentimes plain or elaborately embroidered depending on the occasion. And in performance arts, they do have a cultural art or cultural dance called the mablaks, which is a fusion of jazz, soul, and rumba with sabar, which is a type of a drum that they use. And this was heavily influenced by the Malian Empire. And you can see the ladies' outfit and the men's outfit on the right. And the sabar is the drum that the men are playing on the right as well. Let's talk about education. So because of its location, its history, Senegal unfortunately has one of the lowest literacy rates in the world, with only 69.4% of children going to primary school until the age of 11. And because of these low literacy rates, you can really see that there are higher rates of hospitalization, and there's a lower chance of the individuals taking proper precautions and preventative medicine as well. And 304,000 males are usually out of school children, and 262,000 are female out of school children.
Okay, so now we're going to look at some big health areas in Senegal. So first, we're going to look at these child mortality trends. So under 1 includes both infants and neonates, and we have the under 5 mortality rates on this graph as well. As shown in the image, under 5 deaths per birth were significantly higher 30 years ago. than the under 1 deaths. But over the past 30 years, the gap has been closing, averaging to about 40 deaths per 1,000 live births. On this slide, we see maternal mortality trends. So this image displays that ratio over the past 20 years. It has been a steady decline within the past 10 years at least. All these mortality rates can be attributed to increased income, healthcare options, and of course, increase in technology and science. So these are the top 13 mortality health issues, and there are many communicable diseases still, as you can see in 2019. But we do see that more of the deaths in 2019 appear to be attributed to non-communicable diseases in comparison to 2009. And this can be attributed to increased sanitation, but still struggles with meeting some of the sustainable development goals. And that leads to looking at just a chart of diseases in Senegal relevant to other countries. So compared to other countries, Senegal has more neonatal disorders, diarrheal diseases, and higher malaria. So based on both health charts, it is clear neonatal disorders are a particular area for focus on Senegal. So these are the different causes of neonatal deaths there. So one thing to note is that a lot of these causes of death can be attributed to health of the mother or other preventable diseases. So Senegal must be focusing its energy elsewhere, which leads us to their SDG progress. So I've grouped and divided the SDGs into 5 groups. So Survive and Thrive includes diseases like HIV, AIDS, and other communicable diseases, in addition to childbirth complications. The dark blue demonstrates significant progress in the goals, while the medium blue indicates completion of targets pertaining to those goals. So we see there is significant progress in Survive and Thrive, as well as the environment. And the reason for this is because we have increased technology with vaccines and childbirth. We have increased sanitation, improving the environment for people. We're not growing in Senegal in education, protection of vulnerable population, health, and poverty. And so a lot of this is likely due to the traditional gender roles, where women essentially are completely under and delegate, just go to the man. The man is like the ultimate authority there. And so they just don't get enough health focus. And that would also lead on to why children are also still very vulnerable.
So now we're going to talk about the Sustainable Development Goals and Millennium Development Goals and their progress in Senegal. So Senegal is ranked number 126 out of 165 countries in terms of their SDG progress. They have achieved goals 12 and 13, but challenges remain for goals number 15 and 17, and major challenges remain for quality education, which is number 4, and then a lot of the other goals are moderately improving. And then in terms of MDG progress, Senegal has only made significant progress towards goals number 1, 3, 6, and 8, and they are ranked number 156 out of 175 in terms of their population's overall well-being. And government officials say that Senegal's success hinges on the 8th MDG, because without more aid from other countries, poverty will not be reduced.
So now I'm going to talk about some disparities and determinants within Senegal. So the main disparity in Senegal stems from location. So as you can see on this map, the majority of their population lives on this left corner, which is their capital. But although that is true, 52% of their population lives in the rural areas. And because of this, about 3/4 of the doctors in Senegal live in either the capital or other urban cities, which leaves about 1/3 to 2/3 of the people that live in rural areas without continual or steady access to healthcare. And even if they were to try and travel to the more urban areas, the roads are often not in good condition or unpaved or just non-existent in general. And so this next slide shows the under 5 mortality, comparing the urban areas to the rural. And as you can see, there is still a big gap between them, even though it has shrunk. The gap is still at about 20 births per 1,000. And so on to determinants. These are the top 10 determinants of health in Senegal. And because the top 5 causes of death in Senegal are mostly communicable or neonatal disorders, it shows that a lot of these are preventable. And as far as neonatal disorders go, it shows that a lot not adequate nutrition or support is given to women of childbearing childbearing age. And all in all, 64% of deaths annually stem from birth complications or abnormalities that occur prior to birth. This correlates with the leading determinants of health, which is malnutrition, followed by pollution and sanitation. Next is prevalence and incidence. So this first graph shows the malnutrition of Senegal's population using percent as the measurement. It was previously shown that this is a strong determinant of health, and although it has lowered over the past 20 years, it is still about 3 times that of most developed countries. Because women and children are at particular risk, this could be a contributing factor to the high rate of neonatal disorders, as one of the main causes was found to be low birth rate. This next slide shows the incidence of malaria. And as you can see, the areas that are less densely populated seem to have higher incidence, and this could be due to the fact that more rural areas are much more suitable for the mosquitoes that carry malaria to breed, combined with the inability to access healthcare.
All right, I'm going to be speaking about the economy. So in terms of industry in Senegal, the majority of the economically active population occupies the agricultural sector and the manufacturing sector. But both of these revolve around the peanut, as that is Senegal's #1 crop, and they are the leading producer of peanut oil in the world usually. In Senegal, the government gets most of its incomes from local taxes on things like alcohol and gasoline and tobacco. Senegal is also classified as a lower middle income country as of the year 2020, and almost half of the population is currently living in poverty. And this is important to note in terms of health insurance and health expenditures, because there are currently attempts at creating universal healthcare system, but nothing has really stuck yet in terms of policy. So the majority of health expenses are paid out of pocket by patients, and that places huge burdens on these people who are already impoverished. These are a couple of charts. The one on the left shows the GDP, and the one on the right shows the GNI per capita in Senegal over the past few years. Since the early 2000s, the economy has seen some decent growth, but with a couple of recent dips, it has yet to really stabilize.
So lastly, we're going to be talking about epidemics and endemics in Senegal. So the 2 major epidemics that Senegal has experienced are HIV/AIDS and COVID-19. And the HIV/AIDS epidemic has been going on since the mid-1980s, and its prevalence is 0.3% in ages 15 to 49. Senegal was really lucky during the Ebola epidemic, so it didn't really affect them because they only had 1 confirmed case. And then obviously the COVID-19 pandemic is currently affecting Senegal like every other country in the world, with 84,999 cases and 1,946 deaths. So the chart on the right shows the average number of deaths related to AIDS. And as you can see, that has kind of decreased since then, and there's less than 1,000 in ages 15 and up. And then the graphs on the left show that new HIV infections have been on a steady decline since the early 2000s. And then in terms of endemic diseases, the 3 major endemic diseases in Senegal include neglected tropical disease, tuberculosis, and malaria, as Divya mentioned earlier. Senegal is ranked number 21 out of 49 of African countries that are endemic for at least one of the 5 NTDs shown in the thing on the bottom, which are elephantiasis, blinding trachoma, intestinal worms, bilharzia, and river blindness. So Senegal is progressing in their treatment of the NTDs, but is still behind other African countries that are on track for their treatment, as shown in the map of Africa on the right. And then with regards to tuberculosis, infection rates have been steadily decreasing since the early 2000s, and treatment has about an 89% success rate.
So that's all for our presentation. We hope you liked it. Thank you so much.